In fact, these glands are controlled by nervous system or receptors that are located on those glands via hormones. You have to bear in your mind that these hormones are control many functions in our body, like homeostasis, metabolism, sexual reproduction, in addition to sexual development, also control digestion, in addition to body temperature and other many functions. I think it is very interesting to have a look. Hormonal coordination in living organisms. Endocrine system. We have seen that the nervous system, through all its components, nerve centers, nerve nets, and sensory, in addition to motor nerves, controls and coordinates the activities of organs so that they can perform function in harmony. The belief was dominant for quite a long time until many experiments have been carried on animals and men showed that the body contains a group of specific organs which also controls activities of the body in completely different way. These organs manufacture chemical substances and send them through the bloodstream to different body tissues where they affect their activity and controls the rate. Thus, we can say that such organ assist the nervous system in coordination are called hormones. The hormones must be secreted in a suitable amount to carry out their function with a great efficiency. If excessive secretion or deficiency of secretion occurs, leads to disturbance in function and results in pathological changes, symptoms, characteristics for these hormones. Hormones, they are chemical substances synthesized by endocrine glands. As you see now on the screen, the endocrine glands that secrete these hormones. Also, these hormones are secreted by ductless glands, endocrine glands, directly into the bloodstream. Observe now, it is obvious in the bloodstream. Hormones secreted in the bloodstream and carried to the other way. Most of the hormones are in the form of stimulation of other glands or organs. Discovery of animal hormones. Claude Bernard is the first scientist. In 1855, he was interested in studying function of the liver, considered the stored sugar in the liver as an internal secretion. You observe that the liver stored excess glucose in the form of polysaccharides called glycogen. Also, external secretion called bile. So the liver is considered as internal secretion and external secretion. The bile Previously, you have studied the bile that help in fat digestion in the previous year. Starling, the second scientist, in 1905, Starling notes that the pancreas secretes its digestive juice at the time food is reaching the duodenum. Although in his experiment he cut any nervous connection between the pancreas and other organs, as you see now, he deduced that there is other stimulus other than nervous system, other than nervous stimulus. He later knew that the mucous membrane lining of the duodenum, as you see now on the screen, the mucous membrane lining the duodenum secretes special chemicals, substances that passes into the bloodstream, and on reaching the pancreas directly stimulates the liver to secrete its juice at the correct time. Also, he gave the name hormones for these chemical messengers. In fact, hormones is a Greek word that literally means activators, research, increase, and the scientific field go in progress, thus enable scientists to know the endocrine system in the human body. Another topic, plant hormones. The first scientist that talked about that, Boyce Johnson, in 1913, was able to explain the phototropism of growing point in view of auxin's plant hormones. You have studied the sensation in plant and the auxin in the previous year. I think you have an idea about that. Observe that on the screen, the effect of the auxin, either in phototropism, either positively or negatively. He proved that the connection between the receptors and the region of curvature occurs due to the auxin, which are secreted by the up of colbutyl stem. This causes curvature. You can observe that when exposed to sun from unidirection, meaning one direction, it bends towards light. So it is positive phototropic, as you studied in the previous year. In plants, there are no special glands, but there are cells, especially in growing points, and buds to secrete chemicals. They affect the function process in the plant other than where they are secreted. The importance of auxins. They have great effect in organizing and development of tissues. They also affect the growth, whether positively or negatively. They control the formation of flowers, leaf fall, fruit formation, and ripening. They affect the functional process of all cells and tissues of the plant, enable human to alter the growth of plants to suit his needs, and so open new horizons for the welfare of human beings. hormonal regulation in men. The scientists were able to know the function of hormones through: number one, the study of symptoms results from enlargement or removal of one of endocrine glands in man and animals. The study of the chemical structures of extracts of endocrine glands and their effects on different vital activities. Now we're going to study glands in human being. There are three kinds of glands in human being. First of all, exocrine glands. They are named the glands of external secretion. It consists of secretory part, as you see now on the screen, the part that secrete enzymes, sweat, or tears. Special duct, as you see, or system of ducts. Their secretion carried by ducts to the cavity inside the body, like salivary and digestive glands, in addition to the sweat gland. Observe, it is obvious secretory part and the duct that leads to the cavity. Endocrine glands, it is the second type. They are named glands of internal secretion. It is ductless gland, meaning it secretes from a special organ directly into the bloodstream. They secrete their secretion into the bloodstream, as you see now on the screen. And the bloodstream are responsible for carrying these hormones to the target organ. They secrete hormones. Only hormones the endocrine glands secrete. But the exocrine, as studied previously, can secrete sweat, enzymes, tears, and others. But endocrine, only hormones. Mixed glands. For example, pancreas. They have characteristics of endocrine and exocrine gland. As you see now, the pancreas on the screen, it secretes the pancreatic juice, as you studied previously in the previous year. You studied in chapter nutrition, the pancreatic juice that secreted through the duct and digests the food. This is the function of exocrine. But the function of the endocrine glands responsible for the secretion of insulin and glucagon hormone. This will be treated more fully later on. The structure. Observe the pancreas and its structure now. Endocrine system. It is known that the human body contains a group of endocrine glands which are situated in different parts of the body. Each gland has a specific secretion which contains one or two groups of hormones. As you see, thymus gland in adult and on fetus, observe difference. It becomes smaller in adult. It is obvious. Observe that. Here you are, the system of endocrine glands. You observe the whole system of endocrine glands and the location of each gland in the body. Focus on it. Make a highlight in each location. And each of these glands has its own function. Examples of endocrine gland. It is pituitary gland. It is the master gland. It is the master of the masters. It controls other endocrine glands. It affects and coordinates the function and secretion activities of most of the endocrine glands. It is located beneath the floor of the brain. Observe. Observe, there are many photos that illustrate the location of pituitary gland. Observe this one and also this one. It is small in size. It doesn't exceed for more than 1 or 2 milligrams, but it is the most important one in our body as it controls all endocrine glands. It is connected with the hypothalamus. Observe that hypothalamus above and the pituitary gland located beneath the hypothalamus and connected to the hypothalamus by infundibulum. Observe that. It consists of 2 parts, adenohypophysis that includes anterior lobe and the middle lobe. You can observe that as you see on the screen now, the green parts represents the middle lobe. Observe the posterior lobe that lies below the middle lobe and the anterior lobe above. I think it is very clear. Neurohypophysis. It consists of posterior lobe and infundibulum. You can observe also the posterior lobe and infundibulum. It is the stalk that connect gland to the brain. This also demonstrates anatomy of anterior lobe and posterior lobe. As you see, now there is many hormones that are secreted from the pituitary gland. Let's see some of them. As you observe now on the screen, this graph illustrate and demonstrate also the function of these hormones. For example, TSH, it is abbreviation to thyroid stimulating hormone that stimulate thyroid gland to secrete their hormones. Also, ACTH, adrenocorticotrophin hormone that controls and regulates the function of the cortex of the adrenal gland. In addition to gonadotrophic hormones, LH, luteinizing hormone or liberating hormone that liberate the ovum from the Graafian follicle. Also, FSH, follicle stimulating hormone that stimulate the ovary to form follicles to prepare for the formation of mature ovum. This will be treated more fully later on in reproduction chapter. Also, growth hormone. This growth hormone controls metabolism of the body. Prolactin hormone that stimulate the mammary gland to secrete its secretion. In posterior lobe, we observe 2 hormones, oxytocin hormone and vasopressin or ADH, antidiuretic hormone, that regulate the amount of urine in the body by reabsorption of essential water and back to the blood. Now we are going to study other gland. It is the adrenal gland or suprarenal gland, or another name, emotional gland. The two glands, as you see now on the picture, each locates above one of the two kidneys. Each gland consists anatomically and physiologically of two regions, an outer cortex and an inner medulla. Hormones of the cortex. Three groups of hormones are secreted from the cortex. Glucocorticoids, to the first one, includes cortisone and corticosterone, the main function of which is to regulate carbohydrate, glucose metabolism in the body. Mineralocorticoids. It includes aldosterone, which plays an important role in mineral metabolism and balance in the body. This hormone increases reabsorption of sodium and increases the excretion of potassium from the kidney tubules. 6 hormones. Although the main source of 6 hormones are the testes in male and ovaries in females, these hormones are also secreted from the adrenal cortex. The male 6 hormones is testosterone, and female 6 hormones are estrogen and progesterone. You can observe the chemical structure now on the screen. Testosterone and progesterone and estrogen as well. Tumors or any condition which leads to the disturbance in the balance secretion of adrenal cortex and results in the increase in the level of 6 hormones above normal, leading to masculinization in female, feminization in male. 4th, the pancreas. It is the mixed gland, as we mentioned previously, with the exocrine and endocrine secretion. Observe now the structure of pancreas that demonstrate the duct through which the pancreatic juice is secreted. Also, observe the Langerhans islets that secrete insulin hormone and glucagon hormone from alpha and beta cells. I think it is very clear on the screen now. The exocrine secretion in the form of pancreatic juice secreted from the pancreatic cells through pancreatic duct into the duodenum. And also it secretes hormones directly to the blood from a group of cells called islets of Langerhans, which contains 2 types of cells: alpha cells, small in number, and secrete a hormone called glucagon. Also, beta cells represents the majority of cells and secretes the hormone called insulin. The 2 hormones are responsible for regulation of glucose level in the blood and keep it constant at levels ranging from 80 to 120 milligram per 100 centimeter cube blood. The function of insulin. The insulin decreases the glucose level in the blood through: number 1, it stimulates the oxidation and utilization of glucose by cells, as it is important for transport of all monosaccharides except fructose. Focus on this point, except fructose, across the cell membrane. It stimulates the conversion of glucose to glycogen to be stored in the liver and muscles, or to lipids. Decrease in the secretion of insulin leads to a disease called diabetes mellitus, characterized by disturbance in the metabolism of carbohydrates, glucose, and lipids. The patient with diabetes mellitus complains of increased glucose level in the blood. This will be associated with abnormal secretion of glucose in urine because the glucose doesn't enter inside the cells. The insulin is the key that opens the cells for the glucose to enter the cell to be oxidized. But the key is lost. The insulin is lost. So the glucose level increases in the blood. So great amount of glucose is secreted in the urine. If the physician examined the urine and found even a little amount of glucose, this indicates the patients of diabetes mellitus has many functions to do. We have to focus on the comparison between the opposite hormones like insulin and glucagon, mineralocorticoids, and glucocorticoids as well. You have to bear in your mind as well the scientific terms. You have to detect each word with a great efficiency. Hormones control the body, starting from the scratch, from the childhood till it reaching senility. I think it is very interesting to know more about hormones. That's all for tonight. This is Termination. Thank you for joining us. Till we meet again, wishing you all the very best. Have a very good night.